Hello and welcome to the Rask Network. What you're about to hear and see is limited to general financial information only. Please be sure to speak to your financial planner or refer to our financial services guide available at rask.com.au/FSG before acting on the information.
Zara, how are you?
Good. Jordan, how are you?
Good. How's things at Inflection going?
Good. Inflection's good. Nice and busy. Again, we just kind of onboarded a few new people into the team, which is really exciting.
Cool.
So we've had a few website projects come through. So we've got a web designer that we're working with, which is really great, and a Google Ads specialist. So yeah, doing well.
Awesome. How are you going with how quickly it's growing? Managing,
yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's, there's challenges along the way, like with anything, but I think more than anything, it's exciting to see something growing so quickly. And it's nice to be bringing people on board to start sharing that kind of excitement and growth with too.
For sure. And I think what you're going through at the moment with Inflection ties really well into this episode.
Yes. Which is?
Scaling your business.
That's it.
And we just want to talk about how we can do it efficiently and not get too big too quick, because things can fall over very quickly.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes you can balloon out really quickly as well.
Yeah. Have you thought about that?
About ballooning?
Yeah. Not ballooning, but I guess growing too quick.
I mean, trying to make sure that we've got all the processes in place that we can be managing that growth. And if we do start seeing growth in a certain area, I think, it's been really great working with you guys, having kind of that projection, so we know if we start to see, these sort of clients coming on board, then we can forecast when we would need to bring someone else into the business in advance.
Yeah.
Which I think has been pretty great.
That whole planning component. Yeah, it's super important. I mean, we've done that here at Grayspace. I know Owen does it with Rask. You do it with Inflection. And I think it's such an important thing to do, just so you can put some financial figures to what the big goals are. So super important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think scaling as well, I think it's really important to identify it at the start, just so it can help you with that long-term success and what that long-term vision is as well. Otherwise, you can just get caught in the day-to-day stuff sometimes and you're just not in control of what's going on. You're sort of just drifting in the wind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes, particularly in these early stages of business, it's so easy to get caught in the weeds in the execution work and not focusing on the business, but working in the business, which is something that, as you build, as you start a business, everyone goes through. And it's really important to work in the business so that you're setting up those processes and setting up the standard way that you want to be carrying out a certain service and what that deliverability looks like. But then once it starts to grow, making sure that you're not getting too stuck in the business and making sure that you can work on the business.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because when you do start out, that's all you're thinking of is I just need to get the work done, maintain quality of service. But then it soon not shifts away, but other things come into priority. And I think it's really important that you do that stuff at the start. So that way you can focus on the other stuff too. And you still know what's going on in the wheelhouse or in the bullpen, like I said before. So yeah, super important.
Yeah.
When starting a business, when do you think it's the right time to know if you're ready to scale or to assess if you're ready to scale?
That's a good question. I think looking at the current performance of the business.
Yep.
So understanding and then analyzing and understanding kind of the financial health of the business and where you guys are sitting.
Yep.
So understanding, based on kind of all of this work coming in, have we set up this kind of cash flow projection and this forecasted budget so we can see that if we are hitting our targets, and this is kind of what the targets that we've said we're going to hit, whether it be a financial metric, whether it be a number of businesses or clients that you work with, that once you kind of set that target, and if you're seeing that you're hitting it on a frequent basis, then you can kind of make the assumption or an educated assumption that you're going to hit the targets next month as well.
Yep.
And that means that you need to hire somebody to help service those clients or, service those needs. So I think, it's really understanding your current performance as a whole.
Yeah, 100%. And I think to dive a bit deeper into that, you want to make sure you've got enough cash runway as well, especially if you're going to preempt some hires or if it's some equipment that you need to get. It's really important that you have a bit of money in the bank in case your projections could be off 5, 10, 20%. And even on those projections that you make, you want to try and get data to back them up. You don't want to just say, yep, I'm going to double every month. Because
that would be nice.
Oh, sign me up for that. It's really important that you do have some type of metric to go off, whether it's leads coming in, then percentage of closed leads, churn rates, and you can really work backwards from all of this stuff to get really accurate financial data. I know that's something that we've gone through.
Yeah.
And again, like you have these goals, like, I want to double the business in 12 months or whatever it is. But you can't just do that. You can't just have these big goals with nothing backing it up.
Yeah. And I think that day that, the four of us kind of spent together and came up with, like, again, historically looked at like what the leads were coming into the business and what our conversion rate was and the close rate and those kinds of things. Not only was it like super educational, but it also can be like a motivating factor for like, wow, cool. If this is the rate that we're seeing, or if this is kind of the close rate that we're seeing, this is where we could be if we doubled down and these were the metrics that we were trying to hit and these were our KPIs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, I just think for me personally, I don't know if it's because I'm an accountant, but you really want to start with the financial side of things too.
Yes.
And I know the strategy, the business strategy, and then the finance, they do tie into each other. But when Daniel and I do it, we do like to sort of start with what we went through and start with that spreadsheet, that cash flow spreadsheet, which we do have as a free resource in the free community.
Yeah.
So we'll have a link in the show notes if anyone wants to jump onto that. Daniel runs through what we go through essentially and what we went through, the four of us. So get onto that, and it's a really good educational tool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it's also a good idea just on that performance analysis. Like you also want to see that market position and where the industry is and where it's going.
Yes.
How would you best do that?
So I think it would be really understanding what's happening in the market. So looking at trends, what are your competitors doing? Are your competitors growing? Are they scaling? Are they trending in a different direction? How can you be using all of this data that exists outside of your own business to understand what the market looks like in the future for you?
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to be video easy because if it's the industry is going downhill, or if there's technological changes that are really affecting your industry and what you're doing, you don't want to be pouring all of this money and effort and try and scale up in an industry that's going to be non-existent in 5 years. Yeah.
So I think it's being able to do that research and understand, and then also being able to, I guess, objectively kind of step away from that and say, okay, this is objectively what my business is doing right now. And this is what this data is telling me, and this is what this research is telling me that I should be doing. Maybe it's heading in the same direction. Maybe it's doing more and doubling down of what we're doing, but maybe I need to shift my business model a little bit. Yeah,
100%. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's such a good mindset to get into, especially at the start, or even if you're 4 or 5 years into it. I think it's really important to keep an eye on what's happening in the market. I know we do that all the time.
Yeah.
So super important. Now, another key factor to assess before saying, yes, I'm ready to scale is your operational efficiency.
Yeah.
What does that look like in your eyes?
So I think looking at how scalable those operational kind of processes are.
Yep.
Are they efficient? Are they streamlined? I think recently we did like an episode on standard operating procedures, so SOPs. So ensuring that your processes are as clear and as efficient and as well documented as possible.
Yep.
So that then if you do decide to bite the bullet and hire that new person, that you have the operational kind of capacity as well.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think you can scale unless you've done that.
Yeah, no way.
Unless you've started to do it, and if you're not sure on how to do it, like Zara said, we did an episode on standard operating procedures. Give that a listen, and there's heaps of content out there as well on what this is and how it works. But I think if you're not streamlined and you haven't got any processes, I don't think you're ready to proceed to that next stage and start to really scale up and grow the business.
Yeah.
I think it's really is a non-negotiable. And again, we said it in the other episode, but even if it is just you, that's no excuse not to be working on the procedures and trying to streamline things. Because if you're not going to do it when it's just you, there's 5 people, you're going to come up with some excuse like it's too busy. We've done that.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to get onto it at the start, so that way you are ready to scale.
Absolutely, because I think then when you do bring someone on board, it's not as time consuming to have to take them through all of that work and all of those processes, that whether it's through Loom videos, whether it's through Google Docs, whatever kind of system or process that you use to document this stuff, that then it's really easy for someone to follow through those steps as if they were you, following those same steps as you.
100%. I think also another part that's super important is you want to visit your customer base and make sure that they're happy with the service that you're delivering. Is there more demand? Are they happy with what you're doing? And get some honest feedback. You don't want to start spending money on marketing and hiring if you still need to fix the service offering. So I think that's super important. Go out to your customers, survey 10, 20 customers.
Yep.
Ask them, are they happy with the service? What are they not happy with? And that way, again, you can go back and really refine what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to scale something that's what you think might be great quality or a great service, that then you find out it's kind of operating at 60% of what it should be or what it could be, and that 50% of your customers aren't happy.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, and you don't really want to scale that and then that be the brand reputation that you've built for yourself and your organization.
Exactly right. And before we do proceed, I think another good tool to use is something like a business audit, where you really do go through all the different aspects of the business. In its most simple form, you can break it down into the sales, marketing, finance, and operations, and just, again, have a real honest conversation with yourself to see which areas can be improved. Because in order to scale, you need to make sure that they don't need to be humming, but you need to make sure you have a really good understanding of what's going on. If you don't know your profit and loss statement, if you don't know your gross profit, your net profit, probably not ready. If you don't know what your org structure is going to look like in a year, probably not ready. Sales, if you don't have again, depending on industry, if it's a service-based business, if you don't have a sales process, maybe not ready. Marketing, I'll let you talk through what you should have done in the marketing side of things.
I mean, if you're not automating certain parts of your marketing, again, then you're also probably not ready. If you haven't really defined who your customer avatar is, then it's, who are you scaling for?
Yeah, exactly.
Who is your target demographic that you're trying to communicate with? So I think all of these kind of 4 or 5 key areas of business you need to be 100% across those, so that when you do expand, you're getting the right customers in the door because you're connecting with them in the right way, you're reaching them on the right channels and through the right platforms. Your communication is, top notch.
Yeah.
And then once they've kind of been marketed to and then they've come into the business and they're a lead, that your sales process is really streamlined, that then the conversion rate is likely to be higher because that process is really seamless, and the customers enjoy it. And then, as a business owner, once someone has bought into the business and they become a customer, that they're going to get a really great quality of service.
And I think, again, it really is non-negotiable. You need to know all of these things before you start pouring financial resources into it. I think financial planning, in my eyes, is the most important thing. When we're thinking scale, you need to make sure that you have your budget in place. Again, we spoke about it previously, but having that budget in place really does allow you to forecast what it's going to look like if you were to hire someone, what it's going to look like if you're to purchase another car or a vehicle. If you're a photographer, you need to purchase, cameras. If it's $9,000, $10,000, well, how does that affect our bottom line? Staffing is probably the other biggest thing that you want to think about too when it comes to budgeting, because it's not just that the wage cost. There's super on top of that. There's workers' compensation. Again, do they need equipment in order to do their job? Is there extra software costs? All of these things add up. Yeah. Having a budget in place really allows for scaling to happen and not to shoot yourself in the foot where it's like, okay, if my top line being revenue, if the leads aren't coming in, well, do I have enough cash runway at the bottom to keep this person on for a month or two? I think it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you are in the allied health space, potentially there's insurances involved in that too that your company has to pay. So again, making sure that you have the potential a number of leads coming into the business to service that person salary, but then also to service all of these other costs that go into it as well. Yeah,
exactly right. And you also want to make sure that you have enough cash runway, which is essentially how much cash do I have in the bank before I go bust, before there's no money. And you want to have at least 3 months. And look at this, if you're just starting out, that's unrealistic, but you can slowly build to have that buffer. And I think that's super important too. Again, Excel for me personally is the best way to do this. And again, we've got that spreadsheet in the community, so jump on it. And look, if you are planning on scaling and the money isn't there or you don't have that cash runway, you do have funding options. You can get a loan, you can get investors.
Yep.
Certain businesses, there are grants, and all of these can help with funding. Now, again, super important if you are to do this, and even if you were to use your own money, you want to make sure that the spreadsheet that you've prepared or however you're going to measure success is done so you can measure in a tangible way.
Yep.
You can't just get a bank loan or inject your money and go, okay, cool, I'll fund it. But if there's no return, if you're not seeing a return from your marketing, or if you're closing leads at at 1%, well, there's a problem there. And if you've gone to the bank to get a loan or you've invested your own money, you're just wasting it.
Yep.
So I think it's super important if you are going to go down the funding side of things. If you don't have the cash runway, you need to make sure that your ducks are in line, because you'll burn it pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just making sure that whatever decision that you're making, whatever choice you're making is the most suitable for your business and where you're at right now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, don't try and bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Totally. And again, it ties back into the first part we went through with that operational efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to make sure that's down pat first as well.
Yeah. And I think most of the time when people expand, it's because they start to see an increase in workload and they don't have the capacity to meet the demand, right? The demand overrides what you can kind of supply.
Yeah.
And so that's when people start to bring on a team, right? And I think the most important thing, and something that we've chatted about as well, is like having the right person at the right time, but how crucial it is to have the right person as your first hire.
Yeah. I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Personally. Like we got it wrong. And sometimes that does happen. I mean, staffing's the hardest thing. So
totally. What do you think were some of the reasons you guys got it wrong?
I think we got it wrong where there were signs at the start.
Yeah.
Like sick days early, work's not getting done. You sort of turn a blind eye to it because you don't want to have that hard conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we went wrong. Like,
not getting the
look
right
at the
buy-in.
early signs, genius.
Yeah, not getting the right buy-in.
No buy-in. Yeah, exactly right. So, look, like I said, we didn't get it right the first time, and a lot of people don't. So, if you do, again, you want to, what do they say? Hire slow, fire fast. We didn't do that, so learn from our mistakes. Yeah,
and I think, when you are thinking about bringing that first person in, obviously, if they are the first person outside of yourself, that buy-in is so important because you're getting them on board for a startup, which ideally scales and grows. But realistically, even if it's been in existence for 2 or 3 years and you're the only person in the business, it is still, quote unquote, in the startup space.
Yeah.
So you really do need to have someone that's going to come on board that won't just execute it, but also shares your vision.
Yeah.
I think is really important, that they can see where the company can go, what the potential could look like, and that they've really bought into the vision and the mission of the agency or the organization, so that then when they do start to take on clients and they do start to help out with the sales process or whatever that area might be, that that they are advocating as much for your business as you would be.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting because I've gotten to see it second time around within the Inflection Group, and when you interview these candidates or people who are in the business, and you can see the passion, and like you can see the buy-in straight away. Like I don't know if it's our industry, but as accountants, you don't really see that. Like it actually, I was quite taken back by how passionate a couple of the people have been when, again, just talking about a potential job. It's great to see. It really is. It was great. And it's just so important to have the right team in place. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that goes back to as well, like once they do come on board and you've got those operational kind of standard procedures in place, that then also you have the training, the ability to kind of train and onboard someone properly. Because you might get the right person, they might be in the right seat at the right time, but if you don't have your ducks in a row and you don't have those processes in place and you don't have the training program in place to properly onboard that person, then you can lose them.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why recruiting people that do align with the vision is so important.
Yeah.
Because that vision, again, it's that long-term play. It's not that, yes, you want to make sure that initially their skill set fits what you need right now, but you want them to grow with you as well.
Absolutely.
Because if you can continue to develop the people that work for you, that's what's going to keep people around.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then as you continue to grow and the business continues to grow and you start to employ new people, that those people that came on board in those early days, again, are as much of a visionary for the business as you were for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And I think that's where, again, sitting in on some of the interviews and seeing how you do it, you relay what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And then you can see them ticking. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I'm thinking X, Y, and Z. And that's where you get that buying. It's right at the start. It's not once they're employed. It's during that interview process.
Yeah. And I think you can see it when you are kind of explaining your vision to someone. You can see it in their eyes and their body language and the way that they kind of respond to how they can support that growth or what they think about the vision. You can tell. And so if they're super bought in and their energy changes and their eyes light up and they've got ideas, amazing. Maybe you found your person.
Yeah.
But if they just kind of respond with it, yep, cool, sounds great.
What's the salary?
What's the salary? Or, yep, cool, sounds great. So what does my team look like? Or, if I think you can really understand based on some of the questions that they're asking.
Yeah, so true. Because you need to be able to build that strong team.
Yeah.
If you can't build a strong team, you're not going to be able to scale.
Yeah.
Like no chance.
Absolutely. And I think like interviews are such an interesting thing. And again, in my last organization, that was kind of an area that I focused a lot on, was on the recruitment side of it and bringing the right people into the organization because of how important that is. And it was interesting where, I would go back over my videos of me being in interviews and probably the way that I first started versus how I ended in interviews. But you really can tell within the first 3 minutes of being in an interview, if that person is right for the organization.
How can you tell?
Again, this is absolutely my opinion.
Of course. Yeah.
But I think energy is huge. And I know that there's nerves associated with being in an interview, but I think sometimes you can read through that.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interviewer's job to make the other person feel comfortable.
Yep.
So everyone's going to be nervous going into an interview because, again, like we mentioned in another episode, tall poppy syndrome in Australia, it's really hard to kind of talk about ourselves and what we're good at. But I think as an interviewer, your role in that conversation is to make someone feel as comfortable as possible so they can present in the best way. So it kind of got to a point where, it was very easy very quickly to be like, yes, you share the vision.
Yep.
Yes, you're on board. The way that we're connecting, and sometimes you would take someone a little bit further through the interview process that maybe you were a bit unsure of in those initial stages. And then by the time you kind of get to that third interview, you go, no, my gut was right.
Yeah. Okay.
My gut was right. Unfortunately, as much as I like you as a person, I think you've got a great skill set. You're not quite right for the organization.
Yeah.
So I think, there's a few different things. And I think, a lot of organizations say that you hire based on culture. And I totally believe that you can train anyone in anything. That's
agreed.
At an absolute level, regardless of kind of whatever industry you're in, anyone can learn anything. If you have the right processes in place, if you have a good training program.
A few caveats.
Yep. And if you have someone that's got the right attitude. Yep. I think that's so important. Again, at any stage of business, but in these early days, I think if you've got someone on board that has the right culture, that has the right attitude, that is in that kind of growth abundance mindset, as opposed to that fixed mindset where, you can really kind of take leaps and bounds with somebody like that.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Interesting. I didn't know you did that many interviews.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, crazy.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You said sometimes it's the third interview and then you've gone maybe not the right fit. And it's just so important not to just jump the gun and go, oh, like them, they're cool. Let's bring them in.
Yeah.
There's a thought out process there. It's not just straight away, hired, done.
Absolutely. And I think, I said earlier 20 interviews a week. That's probably a little bit maxed out. It wasn't 20 interviews a week. But, if it was 20 interviews in the month, I would say that we would have a 2-week turnaround time. So I might have interviewed you on the 1st of August.
Yep.
But I know that I've got another 7 candidates that I'm interviewing over the next kind of week.
Yep.
Even though I've had a really fantastic conversation with you, I want to be fair to all the other candidates that I've lined up this interview with and give them the time of day as well.
Yeah, okay.
And then so you also don't know that maybe that first interview, maybe someone was fantastic, but then interview 5 and 7 are also incredible and maybe 7 outshines number 1.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to go through the motions and I think interview everyone that you've kind of got in your pipeline rather than just saying, yep, this person's great, cut the chase, let's just go with it, because there could be someone really fantastic that you're missing out on. And I know you can't interview everyone and I totally get that. And I think that's why you have barriers in place or you have kind of criteria that people have to meet before they kind of move into that first face-to-face interview.
Yeah.
But then I would have a 7 to 14 day turnaround time from first interview. And it just means that you have a chance to reflect on who you've interviewed, make sure that maybe something else had gone really fantastic in your day that day, that then you brought that energy into the conversation. And then on reflection, when you're reviewing your notes, you actually go, oh, actually, that person didn't answer these 2 or 3 questions that well. It was just because this other really fantastic thing happened.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, maybe something, not so great happened earlier in the day. And that was some energy that unfortunately you took into that interview. And so you didn't give a candidate as great of a conversation as you could have had, but maybe they absolutely nailed their responses. So I think it's really important. Again, we were talking about reflection previously and how important it is to reflect on things. But I think throughout this hiring process, making sure that you're getting the right person, making sure that you're kind of doing enough, I guess, data on your as well, doing enough research, interviewing enough candidates, that you can make an educated decision on who's going to be that right person to bring in.
Yeah, 100%. And I know something that we've spoken about as well is when doing this and you're hiring for scaling and hiring for growth, is to draw out what that org structure looks like.
Yep.
And then that way you know who you're going to hire once you get to X turnover or whatever the metric is, you've preempted who you need to bring in.
Yes.
So I think that's something that's a little tip and something super important if you are hiring to grow. Now, in terms of training staff, I know you've done this as well, but training staff and developing people into leadership roles when you are scaling, is this something you're looking for when you're hiring? Do you want to see that they have that ability to be coached?
Yeah. I mean, I think the ability to be coached, like being open, again, I think it comes back down to that mindset. And some of it comes down to the interviewer questions. Like as an interviewer, you need to have really great questions so that the candidate can open up to you and give you their best version of themselves. And so I think if we're wanting to understand how open somebody is to coaching and how open they are to feedback, there's certain questions that you can be asking around that stuff. But then also like flipping the conversation and asking them to give you feedback on something within your organization can be really great, because then it can start to open up the dynamic of like, this is a two-way conversation. I'm going to give you feedback because I'm here to help you grow. But on the flip side of that, if you say something that's not great, help us grow. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, those two-way street, super important.
Yeah.
In terms of investing in training and development, what does that look like for you?
Good question. So it really depends on the organization and kind of what that, I guess, training looks like and what that training needs to be. I guess speaking for us, for Inflection, what we really want is people that come in with a baseline of skills that they've been in the industry for a certain period of time. So we know that the quality of output that they can deliver is really high. And then what we really focus on is upskilling and training and making sure that people have the right resources. So for example, at Inflection, we're a Klaviyo partner. Essentially what that means is we get access to training programs that you wouldn't just get as a Klaviyo customer. And we essentially have an agency program. So we have an account manager that we work with through Klaviyo, and they get, when there's new kind of resources launching or new features launching, we get access to that information. In the lead up to major kind of like sale events like Black Friday, they do agency training sessions. Cool. So if there's any kind of features that are going to come out, if there's any suggestions that they have based on the previous year's results, then as an agency partner, you get access to all of that information. So you can have really educated conversations with your clients.
Yeah, cool. I know as well, if you're a service-based business, I have a client and I know they do like weekly sales training.
Yep.
So they'll do role play, act out different things, customer issues, customer complaints, how to handle things. I think it's super important to be able to preempt what someone can experience in the field or when they're out there selling or working or whatever it may be. And even constantly refining your craft as well. So you use the Klaviyo example. For us, it could be tax training. Another example could be, I don't know, if you're a video editor, maybe some training on how to do that type of stuff. So it's super important that you're constantly spending money on training and investing back into the business, because at the end of the day, your staff are what's earning you that return on your investment. That's the biggest return you're going to get. Yeah. It's 9 times out of 10, maybe not for e-commerce, service-based businesses, that's your biggest cost on your P&L.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're investing in that cost, because you call it a cost, but they're your biggest asset. Your people are your biggest asset.
Yep.
So I think it really is a non-negotiable to have like a well thought out training program, like a hiring plan, a training program, what that looks like, because all of these things are going to lead into having a really good company culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also comes down to, the culture that you're building around success and failure. And I think what I mean by that is that it's so important to normalize failure. And I think it's such a massive, and I think it's something that I'm seeing more and more businesses doing better at, but encouraging people to fail. And the benefit of that, like, take risks.
Yeah.
And 100%. So the benefit of someone failing means that they're trying something new. If nothing's ever failing, then no one's ever stepping outside of their box. And I think in order for businesses to grow, particularly with how like the digital landscape is changing, you need to be testing, you need to be trialing, you need to be learning. And the only way you can do that is to do things you haven't done before.
So true.
And as a result of that, you are going to fail, and that's okay. But the benefit of failing also means that you know as a business, okay, cool, we tried it didn't work. But I think then also analyzing why it didn't work. Was it the execution? Was it the person that executed it? Or was it the fact that it actually just isn't a viable option for us to move forward with? So I think The failing is super important. And I think that helps to create a scalable culture and a scalable organization and that mindset within your team. Because I think if we're only ever celebrating people for the good things that they do and the successes and the, client retention rates, for example, then, we're not celebrating some of the risks that they're taking, which can actually take the business further forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I know something that we spoke about earlier is about like innovation and bringing the staff into these bigger picture things as well, whether it's vision, whether it's championing a process or implementing something. I think that really does foster a good company culture. What are some things that you do or you like to see to maintain a really good culture?
I think the biggest thing is also, not the biggest thing, but amongst these things that we've spoken about, I think a feedback culture is so important. And again, going back to that two-way feedback culture, I think the ability for, as, my team to give me feedback, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I want that, because there's people that do things better than I do.
Yeah.
The idea with like building a business is that you bring people on that are more intelligent or can do things better than you can. Because if you're only ever bringing in people at your skill set or, a couple of years behind you, then you're only ever going to be as good as you can be.
Yeah.
But what you should be doing, in my opinion, is bringing on people that are smarter, that have tested more things, that have worked in different areas. So then your business can be more holistically growing.
Yeah.
And then you can be learning from them. Because that also, at the end of the day, like you should be learning. Yeah. Regardless of what you're doing, regardless of how long you've been in business for. So I think that two-way feedback really helps that because it shows as a business owner that you're open to somebody else's opinion and critiques.
Yeah. And I think you'd be a bit silly as well. Like if you weren't out there on the front lines, again, service-based business, and you're out there doing the jobs, if you're not willing to take their feedback to the blokes that are on the front lines, well, you'd be a bit stupid, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Like they're going to give you the best feedback. Oh, this isn't working, that isn't working. That's what you want to hear. That's how you're going to grow and get better.
Yeah.
And like you said, you want all of your staff to feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. And I think it can be, even when we're talking about like delivery of work is kind of a key thing, but I think also the way in which we communicate. So potentially like everyone communicates differently, right? And everyone takes feedback differently and everyone responds differently. And so it could just be that the way that I'm communicating something in a team meeting, whether it be about a new process, whether it be about feedback, whatever it is, I also want someone to be able to be like, hey, you kind of said that thing didn't really land because of X, Y, Z. I think it would have been better received, or I think people would have understood it better if you communicated it with these factors into it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why having those open communication lines is so important. And I'm sure the culture that business had once, like that's just you. If you're in a massive business like that and all 120 people are comfortable having those chats, like that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like you can't top that. Yep. Open communication, no one's scared to say anything. That's the type of company culture you want.
Absolutely.
Now, I know we've spoken about technology a few times, and it really is endless in terms of how technology can help drive business growth. For me, I think it really is a non-negotiable. Having a technology stack or an app stack, whatever you want to call it, it really is the non-negotiable for me because it can really help streamline all the operations, can help reduce the manual work that you're doing as well. And once you've got that team put together, again, you want to make sure they have all the resources necessary to perform their job at the most efficient or in the most efficient manner. For us, in terms of automations and software and what does that look like, we use a workflow type software.
Yep.
So any business can have this type of software. Monday is something that we've spoken about. For us, it's Carbon, very accounting specific. ServiceMate for trades businesses. There's ClickUp as well that you've used. For us, that's where it started. We really started with that workflow software and then we built out from that.
Yeah.
How have you done it?
Yeah, similarly.
Yeah.
Starting with the workflow software, again, because that's the work that's being done, that's the deliverables for the clients. And then once everyone's kind of familiar with that, then it's about building out, other software and utilizing other tools and technology to help build out the other areas of the business. But yeah, definitely started with workflow.
Yeah, I think, again, in terms of scaling, if you don't have some type of workflow system, you can't scale. If you're still doing pen and paper, you can't go 2 or 3 times the size of your. I'm sure you can, but it'll get to a point in this day and age where it'll eventually fall over.
Yeah.
You can't run a business with 50, 100 people. You know what? You probably can. I'm sure there's someone doing it. And you know what? Well done.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking clients that I've worked on over the last 10 years and there's people doing it.
Yeah.
But I think going forward in the digital age and where we're at now, I think it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
When we talk about growing the business and we talk about bringing in more leads and driving sales that way, I think it's super important to have some type of CRM, like a customer relationship management software.
Yeah.
I know I use ActiveCampaign. I know you use ActiveCampaign as well. And I think the good thing about that is you do have that sales side and you've also got the email marketing. But I think this one is also a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
I know, especially in the service-based business game. Is there something equivalent in the e-com space?
Yeah. I mean, I think in the e-com space, it's looking at like, you obviously are connecting with customers, but in a different way. It's not necessarily through the lead process, or maybe it is, but essentially your customer service. You know, maybe you have an app that you're using or like a plugin for your website, like an automated sort of bot that's like collating information and sending it to you at the end of every month. So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely ways to be analyzing and having that data in your system of like, not necessarily the leads that are coming in, but maybe after customers have purchased your product, what their feedback is, what their questions are, what the FAQs are. All of that definitely is housed.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when leveraging technology as well, every time we're adding a new app to our app stack or a new piece of technology, have a look at Zapier, however you say it, and see if that can help as well. Because what that does is it allows two pieces of software that don't talk to each other. It allows them to talk to each other. Yep. And I think you want to pick tech solutions that are going to scale with your business as you're scaling up as well.
Yep.
Super important to be able to do that. And then once you have implemented or picked the software that you want to use, you constantly need to be revisiting it. Is it the best of class? I mean, for me personally, I don't think the cost should come into it. I think you should be picking the software that's going to get you the best return. Now, that return, if it's a workflow, it can be utilizing staff in a more efficient manner. If you're worried about paying an extra $50 or $100 a month, if that's going to save 10 hours worth of time, it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
So I think it's really important to not to skimp out on the software side of things and just invest into it. And again, constantly review the app stack and where it's at.
Yeah, I think that's important because what your business might have needed at a certain point at the kind of, 12 to 24 month mark is different to what your business needs at 5 years. And so I think before it gets to 5 years and then go, oh my God, we can't manage all of this, or we haven't been tracking this for the last 3.5 years, we can on a regular basis, whether it's quarterly, whether it's annually, whatever that looks like, depending on the growth of your business and what that scale, how quickly you scale. I think making sure that you are reviewing, being like, okay, well, yes, this is the tech stack that we've got at the moment. Does this meet our needs and will this meet our future needs? And if it doesn't, before we grow and then have issues, let's change it now. Yeah,
I agree. And sometimes it can be a nightmare to change.
Huge, yeah.
Whatever software it is. If you can get someone to do it for you, fantastic. I'm sure, I know a lot of the email marketing softwares, they make it super easy.
Super easy.
But some of the more niche ones, I'm sure they can be tricky. So maybe reach out to the software providers and see if they offer some type of onboarding service as well, if the change is really big.
I think also some of those providers as well, maybe before you go ahead with them, like I think, when you are starting a business, when you realize that you need, whether it's a CRM, whether it's a HR, like a human resources management system, whatever it looks like, you realize that you kind of need a certain piece of tech to support something within your business. Don't just go with the first one that you find.
Yes.
I think all of these programs have like a sales team and an onboarding team. Have a conversation with them and find out if it actually meets your needs, and make sure that you go in with a bunch of questions, because I've done it myself many times in Inflection and in other organizations that I've worked in, where I've been like, yep, this is the software, this is it looks great. And then you get, 6 weeks into it and you're like, oh, it actually doesn't do this thing. But I've just invested 6 weeks of my time and I've just sold my boss on it. And I've told my team that this is what's coming. And then all of a sudden I can't use it and I have to go back to the drawing board. Or I didn't look into the pricing properly and it's like way too expensive. And I realized that it actually goes up X% with every new hire that I bring on board, or whatever that user kind of database increases by. So I think do your research, have those sales calls. They only ever go for like half an hour, 20 minutes. Because that person on the other end also has a lot of other potential clients that they're meeting with. But just understand if it's right for your business, and if it's not, move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And look, in that scenario, it can be a bit of a delicate one where you've already onboarded and invested all the time and money into it. But if you have to cut it and try something else, then you just got to do that.
I agree. I think, as a bit of a lesson or like a horror story, one of the organizations that I used to work at, we needed a new HRM system. And then once it was kind of like, we signed the contract, we paid our annual fee, we started our onboarding process, we started building out all of our, systems that we wanted to use. Then all of a sudden, when it kind of expanded to a wider team, which probably should have been involved in those initial conversations, it expanded to the remainder of the department. And they were like, but does it do this? And I was like, I don't know. But does it do this? I didn't ask. But how are we going to track this? But it does these things. Yeah, but it only does 70% of what we need. So then all of a sudden we had signed a 12-month contract. We'd paid an annual fee. We'd started setting up our processes. And then as we were about to roll it out to the company was when we pulled in other departments to critique it and give us feedback. And they were like, but it doesn't do this or this. And why doesn't it do that? And then we went to have a conversation with sales rep and they were like, we can put it on our tech request, but it might not happen for the next 6 to 12 months. And then all of a sudden we're all like, oh my God, what do we do? How do we back out of this? We've signed a contract. And then we're back to the drawing board. But as a team, we'd invested 6 weeks into this thing, So I think it's just, learn from my mistakes, learn from my lessons, have the conversations. And again, I think we spoke about a couple of episodes ago about like different perspectives. If you are in a niche, if you're in a department, go to a different department. Before you kind of sign the dotted line on something, get the perspective or the feedback or the insight from somebody else. Because if you work in marketing and you go and talk to someone in tech or IT, or you work in sales and then you go and talk to like the client, like the account manager, and you say, this is what we're going to do. And then you go to the account manager and they're like, but that doesn't make sense because once they get over here, we don't do that. Then you can kind of, again, troubleshoot these problems before they actually kind of roll out.
Yeah.
Obviously saving time, which is also, other than money of the organization you've paid, also money internally. By the time that you've paid a team salaries for 6 weeks to implement this new project.
That's right. And I think that's why it's so important to have that culture and have that buying at that top level where you can go to all the heads of the department and get feedback.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you don't want to go 6 weeks and go, yep, it's all good. And then you go and get everyone else's opinion. And because you're in a bit of an echo chamber, you're like, this is great, it's going to work. Yep. And if you're just talking with your team, there's no outside perspective from someone else in a different silo of the business, if it's finance, marketing, whatever it is. So yeah, super important.
And I think, we found out that there was one particular player that, and when I say player, like a head of department that was really fantastic at playing devil's advocate. And so then anytime anyone wanted to like launch into a new software, we just went, hey, Tash, help us out here. This is what we're thinking.
Yeah.
And the way her brain worked was just like, I can't even describe it. But by the end of the conversation, you'd be like, wow, okay, I hadn't thought about all of those things.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the drawing board. But then it means that, yes, it might take you an extra week or two to kind of do that research. But then what you could then present to the rest of the heads of department 2 weeks later, because of the insight that someone like Tash had, then you can go, you're so much more solid in what you're putting out there.
Yeah, for sure. And look, if it is just yourself or it's a team of one or two, don't think that what we're talking about doesn't apply to you. You can still have these same, there'll be internal conversations, but you can still watch reviews on YouTube. If there's 2 or 3 different pieces of software, you can still do your own research. So regardless, if you don't have a big team and you're only small, don't think that you can't compare different pieces of software. You're just going to have to get on the front foot, and YouTube's a wonderful thing. So I'd strongly suggest.
And also, even if you've got like a friend or a partner that can also come in as a totally unbiased, zero experienced opinion. Quite often, if I need something that's totally different, I'll go to my husband and I'll just be like, this is what I've written, or this is what I've put together, or this is what I want to do. Does this make sense? And sometimes he's like, yeah, nailed it. Sounds great.
Yep.
Go for it. Sometimes he'll be like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, because of this and this. And he's like, but why don't you just do this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, instantly it's kind of like pulled me out of the weeds, and you look at it from it. Because I think sometimes also when you get so deep into that research mode and trying to find something to solve a particular problem, you then kind of can get too niche on that problem and be like, but maybe it only solves one of 5 things.
Yeah, exactly right. Once we've gotten on top of the tech stack, with the team set up, we're good to go, and now we're ready to expand the market. What strategies would you use to reach new markets and just really expand that customer base?
Yeah, I think market research is massive, like identifying what opportunities are out there. And there's so many ways that you could do that. If you're in the product space, maybe you're getting a lot of feedback from your customers about a certain product, or they're asking for a certain service, or, even if you're in the service space, someone's calling up and asking you for XYZ and you don't actually offer it, but you find out that you've had 10 phone calls in that month for a certain service. It could mean that it's a viable opportunity like for you to branch out. I think market research is so important, finding out what's happening within the market, where the trends are and where the growth is happening, but then also listen to your existing customers.
Yeah.
Listen to what your customers want, whether that be through customer service feedback, whether that be through maybe you've got a chatbot on your website that people are asking questions to, whatever those kind of customer queries are, how that can sort of be changing the direction of your business. And then obviously, if you wanted to kind of go at a bigger level, then working with a market research agency as well.
I think you can also, like, expanding your service offerings is a big thing.
Yeah.
Service-based businesses, I know a lot of the time they'll move into a new space, not necessarily a new space, like in the same industry, but if they've already got a big client list, they can add service offerings to what they're currently doing. And I'm guessing for e-com, would it be similar or cross-selling? How would that work?
I mean, absolutely. A girl that I used to work with started a makeup kind of cleaning product. And so she started during COVID. Originally, it was just like a single product for makeup artists. They would use it to clean their brushes. And then over time, realized that it wasn't just makeup artists that were buying this. It was just people that were enthusiastic about makeup at home. So then it kind of expanded, and now she's kind of growing and she's about to launch a new product. And so I think it's like it can be something that's in your exact space, but it also could be slightly diversified. Another example would be this guy that I used to work with started a business for silk pillowcases, and it was to help like reduce acne and like reduce hair frizz and all those kinds of things. It went really well, and then realized that, well, we're already in the silk pillowcase business. Do we diversify into sheets and do silk sheets?
Yep.
Or do we diversify and we really hone in on acne products, because we've created this silk pillowcase to help reduce acne? So you can kind of do a bit of a split test. He did split test. He did both. The sheets didn't work. It actually became an acne brand.
Yeah. Okay.
So then it's like, okay, well, now we can offer other products that can help, whether it's a skin cleanser, whether it's a face mask, then you can actually become known as this brand that services or helps alleviate a pain point in people's lives.
Yeah, for sure. So I think expanding offerings is huge because you've already got that customer list that's already there, ready to go. And another one is entering new regions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you can do this regardless of your business.
Mm-hmm.
You can focus your ads around that too. If you're in the e-com space, but if you're a service-based business that only services, a handful of postcodes, you can always expand geographically. And then in the e-com space, I'm guessing it's a lot easier to enter into new countries. Not so much for service-based businesses.
Well, I mean, it can be much more expensive. And I think, again, it's really important to do research.
Yeah.
Because, if you are relying on paid advertising, obviously if you're thinking about America, the competition is so much higher.
Right.
So there's a lot more businesses, which means there's a lot less retail space in terms of, if you're running Facebook ads, there's a lot more competition on the platform, which can often mean that the results can be more expensive. So your cost per acquisition can be higher. So your profit margins can be slimmer. But also I think when you're thinking about expanding into other regions, if you're an e-com brand and you're thinking about expanding overseas, do you need to consider shipping costs? Do you need to, how does all of these factors play into your product margins? And, obviously there's an element of growth for growth's sake. And I think it's important to understand, like, when you are growing, how can I make sure that I'm doing it in the most strategic way possible that isn't, ballooning out and going to break at some point. But doing your research, understanding if you are an e-com product and you're tapping overseas, maybe Australia, the next kind of logical thing is New Zealand, and then kind of tapping into, I guess I would suggest, areas that have similar consumer psychology to wherever your base is. So when you are shifting to America, the consumer psychology is quite similar to Australia, so it makes sense. So the kind of selling is quite similar. But then if you were to shift to Europe, it might change as opposed to if you're shifting to Asia. Like all of these different factors you have to consider when you are thinking of diversifying or expanding.
Yeah, I guess that's where it becomes super important to have a plan when you do want to enter those new markets.
Absolutely.
And make sure you do take all that stuff into account and do the market research and test these products like that example you just gave, because it can become a very expensive exercise very quickly.
Yeah, and I think also understanding, are you wanting to expand overseas so you can say that you sell your products overseas?
Yeah.
Or are you expanding because you've actually hit a cap in your current market?
Do you think that's a common thing, expanding just so you can say you've...
Yeah, I think so. And I think, I have worked with businesses before where they were AUNZ businesses and they wanted to try selling in America. So we started running ads. We didn't understand the consumer psychology. We didn't do enough research into it. So it was a flop, didn't work.
Yeah, right.
And we also realized that there was an untapped market in AUNZ. So rather than sending our resources, losing profit margins on shipping costs, all those kinds of things, and spending the money to invest in market research in America, we were like, well, we haven't actually fully tapped into AUNZ. We're just kind of expanding because we want to say we're a global organization.
Yeah.
But we're only tapping into 3% of Australia. So, why don't we try and tap into 10%?
Yeah.
And that can be our core growth for the next 24 months.
Yeah, heaps cheaper.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're doing, it's gonna be cheaper than penetrating new markets.
Yeah.
For me, I think up there with the most important parts of scaling has to be the marketing and sales side of things, because it's all good if you've got the financial plan in place. You've identified that you're ready to go. You've got a good team, all the technologies in place. If you're not focusing on the marketing, well, then no leads are going to come in. And if no leads are coming in, there's no sales. So where do you put marketing and sales in the scaling of a business? How important is it?
Yeah, definitely important. Super important. I think really having a really strong brand identity and a strong digital footprint is really key. So brand identity is essentially the way that you show up and the way that people perceive your brand online. So it can be everything from your brand guidelines, as in like your visual identity, so your website, your aesthetic, what emotions that aesthetic and the color palette that you use is evoking in people, but also through your customer service. Do you have 5 out of 5 Google reviews? Do you only have 2.8? So I think really having a extremely strong brand identity and digital footprint is, when I say that, I mean like how big your footprint is in the digital landscape. So not just honing in on Facebook and Instagram and that being your strategy, not just honing in on TikTok, not just honing in on email marketing, but having a really strong footprint across all of these different channels. So do you have a really, really strong email marketing strategy? Do you have a really strong social media strategy? What is your paid ads strategy? What is your content strategy? How can you be strengthening these and making these as strong as possible so that then when you do grow and you do expand, your marketing is 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Those marketing channels that you mentioned, if we were to dive a bit deeper into those and start with email marketing, what does that look like?
Yeah, so email marketing is a really good one because it's a way that you can build a really passive revenue stream for your business very easily.
Would you start with that one? Would you start with email marketing? If we were to say, look, we're scaling up our business, what are the 5 channels and which ones do we do first?
Yeah, I think email marketing is a good one because for a few different reasons. One is people are voluntarily entering into that conversation with you. So it's different from paid advertising in which you're paying a platform to put ads in front of people. Email marketing is someone coming to you being like, hey, I like what you do and I want to know more about it.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way piece of communication. So it's a really great way to start having more tailored conversations with your customers. So having really hyper segmented back ends of your email marketing platform. And I think using all of these kind of data points that we have on our customers to have really tailored conversations. And so then when we think about setting up like passive revenue streams, what we talk about is if you're in the e-com space, it's having like an onboarding series that potentially has a discount code, that's got kind of education about the business, it's got kind of your why, your mission statement, your values. Again, kind of bringing people into why you exist and getting people bought in to that as a customer. And then when we think about, okay, cool, now we've got someone into the business, maybe they've used that discount code as a first-time customer, but now we know that typically people should and would buy from us again in 90 days. That's when the product runs out. So then we want to have like a win-back series set up that if someone hasn't purchased from us in 180 days, we're kind of re-engaging them and saying, hey, we haven't heard from you in a little while. You haven't repurchased your product. Maybe it's a subscription service, whatever that looks like. And so it's re-engaging previous customers in your business. And so the reason we do that is because it's much easier to re-engage and resell an existing client. It's much cheaper as well than it is to gain a new client. So it's really important to have a strong onboarding strategy to get people into your business and to really, I guess, buy into your business. So that is through, having a customer-facing digital presence, which is social media, a really great website, a content strategy, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through a YouTube channel, whatever that might be. Maybe you've got a really great TikTok strategy and that's your way of kind of expanding your reach and kind of reaching new customers. That's kind of your first. And then it's once they do that and they have engaged with you as a business and they visited your website and they sign up to your email list, then it's making sure that all of that communication from that point onwards is as strong as possible. But then I think part of that email kind of marketing strategy, and the reason I love it is that it's a way of like building really loyal customers as well. So once you get more and more data on these people that are buying from your business, and you have more and more, I guess, touch points on them, you can then say, hey, I know that, normally you buy X product from us. This is really great because I know that this product that you have serves this purpose. Typically people with this problem also experience this problem. So this is a product that could also help you. So again, it's having more direct conversations, but also very targeted conversations with people. And, there was a stat that I read the other day that like 70% of customers now want to receive tailored communication from brands. So essentially just means that creating one email, sending it out to everyone is not a good idea anymore because people don't want it. Obviously that welcome onboarding series is going to be like that because it's people entering your business for the first time. But once you start to learn about people, then it's about having really tailored conversations with them. And, over time, you can use that database, that loyal database to encourage them to leave reviews for your business. If they really enjoyed your service, if they really enjoyed your product, maybe they've purchased your product a few times, get them to leave a review and then they can become a brand ambassador.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just one channel.
That's just one channel.
Yeah. That just goes to show you how important it is to have a marketing strategy in place, given we just spoke about one channel.
Yeah.
And there's so many more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, my biggest thing and something that I'm speaking to a lot of businesses about at the moment is have a really strong organic strategy. So then when you do decide to run paid ads and you do pour accelerant onto that, you've got a really strong foundation.
Yeah.
So that then when you are paying a platform like Facebook or Google or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, Pinterest or whatever it is, when you do start paying these platforms to show your ads, then when people go to find you organically, you're valid.
Yeah.
You've got credibility, you have authority. There's lots of customers that have bought from you before, or there's lots of customers that have used your service. You've got really great Google My Business listings. You've got, hundreds of product reviews, all of these sorts of things that help to, I guess the goal is to reduce the risk that a new customer would have from buying from your business.
Yeah, for sure. So much. The marketing really is endless, and it's something that you're always revisiting and continuously refining.
Yeah.
I mean, things change so quickly, whether it's algorithms or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super important to stay on top of it.
Yeah. And I think the other one as well is retention as well, like retention marketing. So, if you like rewarding customers that are loyal, how can you really be diving into, again, building longer term customers? Maybe you see that you could see, again, going back to data as well, I think maybe you can see that on average, people buy 2 products every 6 months and they do that for 3 years. Ideally, then you can go, maybe there's an opportunity for a subscription-based model here.
Yeah.
So yes, we can have like our single products a la carte. People come in, they buy what they want. But then also maybe there's an option that we push out to once people have bought 2 products twice, so over a 12-month period, we offer them a subscription for a discounted rate.
Yep.
Because we know that they like the product. They've used it for 12 months. We know that they're going to continue using the product. Because if you're using skincare and it doesn't work, then you stop using it straight away. So it's like whatever it is, maybe it's food, maybe it's a delivery box, whatever, you know that they're going to come back, make that process easier for them. So then how can you be making your business a non-negotiable option for people?
There's so much that goes into the marketing. Like it's something that I've personally really started to try and get an understanding of, because there's just so much to it.
Yeah.
And I think as a business owner, even if you're going to use an agency, you need to be able to have these two-way conversations. Otherwise, sometimes I've seen it before, you can be a deer in headlights and just these words you're not familiar with, these metrics you're not familiar with, then sometimes, unfortunately, it can lead you astray. So it's really important to have some type of marketing strategy, understand the marketing strategy, so that way you can pivot if you need to pivot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's so important. The businesses that I have seen be the most successful are the ones that take the time, whether it's that they've learned it and executed the strategy themselves first. So maybe a business has a really great social strategy, they've got really great content and they want to dabble in Facebook ads. They try themselves. And at least it might not necessarily mean that it's the most successful, but it means that then when they do come to work with an agency, they can say, well, I know what metrics to look at, or I understand what you're saying, or I know why you might need that piece of content. And I can understand what return on investment means and what return on ad spend means. So again, you can have more, transparent conversations with your agency, which is so important.
For sure. That's a great episode.
Yeah.
We covered.
It felt like a good episode.
Yeah. We covered quite a few things. First, assessing that you're ready to scale. And then once you've assessed that you're ready to scale, have you got the financial resources? Have you done a budget and planned for spending those financial resources? And then we spoke about technology and why technology is super important. And once you have that technology in place and the software in place, expanding your market and making sure that it makes sense to expand into new regions and different countries. If you haven't capitalized on the Australian market yet, does it make sense? And then we spoke about your favorite thing being marketing. So awesome episode. Zara, if people want to get in touch with you and they want help with their marketing strategy, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the information's in the show notes. We can do a free discovery call, but we've also got a free online community that we've just launched. So it's filled with a lot of business owners that are doing the same thing that you are, that want to connect and with like-minded people. We jump in there, we share our resources, we share some tips. We would love to see you there. We're hoping to see that community continue to grow.
For sure. It's growing and it's growing quickly, which is good to see.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Zara.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.